Olá, esse é o Poder Entrevista. Eu sou Paulo Silva Pinto, editor sênior do Poder 360. Vou entrevistar por videoconferência o diretor global de pesquisas da BAT, James Murphy. James Murphy nasceu na Irlanda do Norte. Formou-se em Química pela Queen's University, em Belfast. Fez o doutorado na Universidade de Edimburgo, na Escócia. Fez pós-doutorado no Instituto de Tecnologia de Nara, no Japão. Está na BAT há 17 anos. Foi responsável pelo desenvolvimento do primeiro cigarro eletrônico por vapor da empresa. James Murphy, thank you for this interview.
Bom dia, Paulo, and thank you very much for offering me to meet with you today.
Agradeço também a todos os web espectadores que assistem a este programa. Esta entrevista está sendo gravada por videoconferência no estúdio do Poder 360 em Brasília, em 31 de janeiro de 2024. Para ficar sempre bem informado, inscreva-se no canal do Poder 360, ative as notificações e não perca nenhuma informação relevante. A partir de agora, esta entrevista será realizada em inglês. Dr. Murphy, what is the evidence that electronic cigarettes are less harmful to consumers than traditional cigarettes?
Excellent question. And electronic cigarettes have been in use now for around about a decade. They started off in about 2012 in the UK and the US, and over the preceding years, there has been more and more usage of these products. There has been many significant and leading public health and regulatory authorities who have endorsed vaping as being safer than smoking, and that goes from everything from the United States FDA to Public Health England, the Royal College of Physicians, and other scientific bodies across countries like France, New Zealand, and Australia. So there's significant regulators, public health scientists who would endorse vaping as safer than smoking, and in fact up to 95% safer than smoking.
What does exactly 95% less harmful or less risk mean?
If we go back to the fundamentals of tobacco harm reduction, which is really smokers switching to lower risk tobacco and nicotine products. When we have products like vaping, what we expect to see is a reduction in smoking, and thus we should see a reduction in both deaths and diseases that are attributable to smoking should reduce substantially over the coming years. There's been many publications, many external scientists have stated the public health benefits of this, and I'll leave you with a little statistic of in Sweden, for example, which has the lowest smoking rates in Europe, close to 5%, which is the World Health Organization standard for no smoking. Swedes have switched to a smokeless oral tobacco product called snus. And as a result, Sweden has the lowest incidence of lung cancer deaths in Europe. And furthermore, if the mortality rates, i.e. the death rates in Sweden, were mimicked across the rest of Europe, in the next decade, over 3.5 million lives would be saved in Europe. So I hope that gives you a flavour of the potential public health benefit of tobacco harm reduction.
Electronic cigarettes deliver nicotine. Is nicotine bad for health?
Nicotine is not bad for health. Nicotine has been studied for decades by, again, a variety of public health scientists. There are many really good sources of safety evaluation on nicotine that, while addictive, nicotine is not the cause of smoking-related diseases. It's in fact the burning of tobacco that creates toxicants or harmful chemicals that cause smoking-related diseases. One thing that would help, I believe, with correcting the perception of nicotine, the risk perception of nicotine, would be listening to some of the guidance that is out there from some of the leading authorities. Like in the UK, we have the National Institute of Clinical Excellence, NICE, and they make very clear statements around nicotine being safe for adult smokers. But they also are very clear about who nicotine is not for. It's not for youth. It's not for pregnant mothers. And it's not, importantly, for people who have heart conditions. So I think if people can follow this guidance, I think then that will change the risk perception of nicotine and allow nicotine to be used in a safer way.
There is an effect in blood pressure caused by nicotine. As you mentioned, some people can't consume, shouldn't consume nicotine. This effect on blood pressure, is it something that can be harmful to people out of these risk groups?
No, I mean, again, so going back to some of the leading public health authorities, even the National Health Service in the UK have given very clear guidance on this. I think the way I would look at it would be for people with heart conditions, they should be speaking to their medical doctors around what they should and shouldn't do. So things like they shouldn't use nicotine, they shouldn't eat salty food, they shouldn't take high sugar drinks, they should moderately consume alcohol. So I think that risk group should take specific guidance from their doctor. But I wouldn't want their one risk group to then prevent the rest of the adult smokers being able to use nicotine in a safe way.
Is there any evidence that the use of electronic cigarettes can reduce the consumption of traditional cigarettes?
Yes, absolutely. And I think we see that in many of the countries that have adopted electronic cigarettes for a number of decades. So countries like the UK, Canada, US, France, Australia, New Zealand. What you see in these countries is that smoking rates is at the lowest they've ever been of all time. And importantly, before e-cigarettes, the level of smoking in countries was pretty stable until about 2012. But in the last decade, we've seen a significant reduction as people have started to use e-cigarettes. In many countries, there has been up to even a 30% reduction in the smoking rate in countries. So these products can have a profound public health benefit if made accessible to smokers.
But in some countries where electronic cigarettes are not allowed, consumption of traditional cigarettes is also being reduced, right?
So again, that's where I would say, for me, the conversation isn't should we have tobacco control or should we have tobacco harm reduction. What we actually need is the both together, tobacco control and tobacco harm reduction. It's true that in some markets which don't have e-cigarettes, you see a small decline in the number of smokers. But if you want to see real significant change, where you're dropping down to rates close to 5% of smoking rates, which the WHO states is non-smoking, I think we need additional things like e-cigarettes or heated tobacco products to really drive down those smoking rates, because smokers will want to switch to another product, and these are the types of products that will help them switch from cigarettes.
There is a lot of criticism toward the offer of different flavors in electronic cigarettes. As critics say, they might attract new users that wouldn't smoke traditional cigarettes. What is your assessment on this issue?
Yeah, listen, Paulo, that's a really excellent question, and it's one of the critical challenges that we face. What we see today is that if you take adult smokers want to use flavors so to help them switch from smoking to e-cigarettes. One of the risks that regulators and public health scientists believe is that flavors attract youth into vaping, or people who hadn't smoked before. What I think we need to do, and what we made a public statement in the UK at the end of last month, is that we need just to be very, very clear and have very strict rules, I believe, around what should be allowed in vaping and what should not be allowed. So, for example, there should only be certain flavors allowed. So tobacco flavor, menthol flavor, maybe some fruit flavors. There is no place in adult vaping for ice cream flavors or flavors that may attract youth. The packaging should be adult oriented. There is no need to have colors that could potentially attract youth. Even how we describe these products, they should be described as, like berry, or they should be described as mint. there shouldn't be any of these names like, unicorn juice or these sorts of things. There's absolutely no place in the vaping industry for that. So I think we should just have some very, very strict rules around what can be permitted in e-cigarettes and what cannot be permitted in e-cigarettes. So as then we focus all the effort on switching adults from risky smoking into less risky vaping.
Let us understand it. Let us check if we are understanding it correctly. The idea is that the use of different flavors would attract children and teenagers for the use of electronic cigarettes. Is that right?
I think what you're seeing today is that there is youth usage of some of these products. Unfortunately, a lot of these products, the products that youth are using, are these products that come from irresponsible manufacturers. You see all different forms of packaging and product design, everything from e-cigarettes designed as juice boxes, or in some cases really irresponsible things like sticks of dynamite and things like this here. That is absolutely no place in the vaping business, and we need to take that out immediately. Otherwise, we undermine the credibility of vaping, which has a massive opportunity to switch smokers and have a really huge public health benefits.
But is the industry willing to reduce the variety of flavors before regulators decide about it?
Absolutely, Paolo. And I'm not just going to say that to you. You can check in the UK last month, we published a new policy for e-cigarettes in many of the leading newspapers in the UK, stating our position on this, that we believe there are certain flavors that should be permitted and flavors that should not be permitted. And we also talked about how do we create a controlled retail environment. So things like, should we have licensing to be able to sell e-cigarettes? We believe there should be much tougher penalties for people and manufacturers who don't comply with these new regulations. So we are absolutely committed to making sure that e-cigarettes are only available in forms that are acceptable to adult smokers.
Was it a mistake from the industry to create such a huge variety of flavors before this new move?
Yes, I believe there are certain players, certain manufacturers in the vaping space who don't have the experience or expertise in this area, and then irresponsibly start to market some of these here products that has started some of these problems with youth. If you look at companies like British American Tobacco, and it's not just us, but other large companies who have experience in these areas, we will do this here a lot more responsibly, because we want to see vaping as the sustainable future of our company for the next 100 years. You know, BAT is 102 years old, and we believe products like e-cigarettes are going to be the products that are going to bring us into our next 100 years. So we really want to work with regulators, public health stakeholders, the whole variety of stakeholders, so we create a sustainable business that will sustain us for the next 100 years.
This perspective of working for many decades, for 100 years, there's something that some regulators think that people that are very young or aren't even born shouldn't use tobacco products, or even some other thing that even electronic cigarettes shouldn't be used. What is your assessment about it?
Yes, I know, and we completely agree with them, Paolo. The laws state in every country there's age restrictions on using nicotine products like e-cigarettes. We are 100% behind no youth using these products. Youth using these products creates an environment that hurts the sustainability of the category. So we want this youth usage to stop immediately, and then we just want to focus on adult smokers. That's our business focus, and that's the way we want to move forward.
Going towards the end of this interview, there are some regulations. Well, regulation is more and more tough, even in countries where it's allowed, where e-cigarettes are allowed. What do you think of that? Do you think it's going in a good direction, or no? You think it's too strict?
No, the industry needs regulation. That's absolutely paramount. What we have today is a spectrum of regulation and a spectrum of enforcement. For example, at the very extreme end, you have the United States with their regulations for e-cigarettes, and to introduce a new vapor product into the market in the United States probably takes about 4 years and about £25 million. So it's only that's extremely challenging regulatory framework that only a few companies can comply with. So it doesn't create a fair playing field in that respect. I think in Europe there's quite a good regulatory framework in terms of the Tobacco Products Directive, and I think one thing could be very helpful with regulations is that there should be some form of submission in terms of the safety of the product and the details of the product. I think then the product should be allowed to be placed in the market. But then I think we should actually be looking at these products, what we call post-market. And if any manufacturers put any products on the market that cause a problem, they attract youth, or they're found to be unsafe, or they have some sort of problem, those products would then be taken off the market until such times that it was fixed, and then they could reintroduce the product onto the marketplace. So I think something that has a degree of notification followed by a post-market follow-up would work very well, I think.
Dr. Murphy, was there any question that wasn't asked here, something that you would like to comment that wasn't asked?
Yeah, I think, what we see today is the vision is to have the public health benefits and public health outcomes of Sweden, where Sweden today, it is a smoking rate close to 5%, which the WHO says is at the level of non-smoking in a country. It has the lowest forms of lung cancer deaths in Europe, and the public health benefits are well-founded. Behind that then you've got another series of countries, say around about sort of like 50 to 60 countries that are early in their journey where they have vaping products. And over time, you will start to see the public health benefits in those countries like USA, Japan, UK, etc. The third bucket, which we urgently need to work on, is the countries where these products are banned. So countries like Brazil, for example, where, I think today there's 3 million people vaping and if illicit products. And if we could get those regulations in Brazil, I think we could switch smokers to vaping in a sustainable manner, and the public health benefits in Brazil would be excellent.
Chegou ao final essa edição do Poder Entrevista. Em nome do jornal digital Poder 360, eu agradeço a James Murphy por esta entrevista.
Thank you very much, Paulo. Obrigado, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Agradeço também a todos os web espectadores que assistiram este programa. Essa entrevista foi gravada por videoconferência no estúdio do Poder 360 em Brasília, em 31 de janeiro de 2024. Para ficar sempre bem informado, inscreva-se no canal do Poder 360, ative as notificações e não perca nenhuma informação relevante. Muito obrigado e até a próxima.
Poder Monitor, a ferramenta mais completa para monitorar os 3 poderes. Acesse agora poder.cc/monitor e ganhe 30 dias grátis.